So I normally don't do lives on the weekends. I normally chill and, digress. But this has been on my mind for quite some time. And it's time to address the posers, aka the cosplay socialists, aka some of these people that call themselves progressive. Like, I have no problem with you, having bold ideas. But if you're going to have bold ideas, make sure you represent the people that you're advocating for, not the people that live in your district, if you know what I'm saying. But I'm about to get into this because it's time to address them. I'm spelling stuff wrong. Let's address. So here we are. Okay. So the Justice Democrats are people who call themselves the progressive wing of the party. They are the quote unquote Bernie Sanders wing of the party, even though Bernie Sanders is still an independent, which I got no problem with him being an independent. He could be whatever he want to be. But if you're going to advocate for bold ideas and be part of the Democratic Party, you may not want to primary your own, if you know what I'm saying. So here we are. I'm going to list the people that are in their caucus, well, in their who they advocate for. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, well, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm going to, address her, right? Because she is a congresswoman. Represents the 14th Congressional District of New York. Well, particularly the areas that she represents is the 14th Congressional District, like I said, is East Elmhurst, Jackson Heights, Sunnyside, Woodside. And also Astoria, College Point, Corona, North Corona, East Elmhurst. And another area she represents, which is the Bronx, the east side of the Bronx, which is Pelham Gardens, City Island, Van Nest, Morris Park, Parkchester, Pelham Bay, Allerton, and Throsneck. Now, according to the population that she represents, the demographic for that, the number of population is 712 people from both neighborhoods. She represents, keep in mind, 2 boroughs and 2 different areas, but not the whole entire borough, but she represents an east side of the Bronx and the early parts going into Queens. The gender is 51% male, 49% female. And these are according to the Ballotpedia, which is part of the 2010 census that this data is from. Race, 46% white, 11.4% black, 16.5% Asian. Ethnicity is 46% Hispanic. And that part is from Jackson Heights because there's a good Hispanic population, as well as in the Bronx, there is some in Throsneck and Parkchester, but mostly that Jackson Heights area in Queens. Now let's get into another Justice Democrat, which is Ilhan Omar. She represents the 5th Congressional District of Minnesota, which is 70% white and like 9% Hispanic and 9% black. Maduri Jones is another Justice Democrat. So-called, those progressives. He represents the 17th Congressional District of New York. And his population is 724,191, which is the gender is 49% male, 51% female. His population is also like Ilhan Omar's, 70% black, 10.8% black, 6.1% Asian, and 20.7% black. And he represents the areas of Rockland County and other parts of Westchester. And Rockland County is, it's pretty white. So what point I'm making about this when I address the data. These Justice Democrats who are for Black Lives Matter represent very white areas. The three congressional folks I just named represent very white areas. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's neighborhood, 56, her constituency, is 46.5% white. I mean, she has half with Hispanics, but still, hardly any black folks, right? You have Ilhan Omar, her congressional district, 70% white. Marjorie Jones, 70% white. So when these people have all this smoke for Democrats who represent very black areas, they need to take a look back at their constituency. Yes, the census data is from 2010, but these neighborhoods are still white. Very white. So when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez criticizes what is black, we should know why, because the data from Ballotpedia, which is based off the 2010 census, she represents a very white constituency. Ilhan Omar has so much smoke for the Democratic Party, the elected officials who represent very black areas, because 70% of her constituency are white people. And the same thing for the newly elected Marjorie Jones from the 17th Congressional District in New York, which Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez revealed she grew up in that area. So she did not grow up in the city. She did not grow up in New York City at all. So the fact that she did not grow up in New York City anymore explains why her attitude is that way, because she grew up in a very white neighborhood. So when I hear these Justice Democrats talking about Black Lives Matter, have Black Lives Matter all in their bio, there's a huge disconnect. And I'm like, your constituency is white. So you can go on Ballotpedia yourself and look up their whatever. But now I want to get into Hakeem Jeffries' district, which is the 8th Congressional District of New York. His data reads as follows: 29.7% white, 56% black, 4.5% Asian. And his Hispanic population is like in the 20 percentile. I didn't list it here. But the areas he represents is Bed-Stuy, Canarsie, East New York, Clinton Hill, Fort Greene, Coney Island, and Ozone Park. Let's do that again. So, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's district is 46% white, 11.4% black, 16.5% Asian, 46% Hispanic. Her area she represents is, once again, East Elmhurst, Corona, Astoria, Jackson Heights, Sunnyside, Woodside. In the Bronx is Pelham Gardens, City Island, Van Nest, Morris Park, Parkchester, Pelham Bay, Allerton, Throsneck. Maduri, who represents Rockland County and other parts of Westchester, 70% white, 10.8% black, 6.1% Asian, and the Hispanic is population is only 20.7. Ilhan Omar, 70% white, 10% black, and a small percentage of Asian. I didn't list it on there. Hakeem Jeffries, once again, 29.7% white, 56% black, 4.5% Asian. What does that tell you? That tell you is these three posers, they're not for the people. They represent very white districts versus Hakeem Jeffries, who represents a predominantly black neighborhood in New York City and one of the still lasting and standing predominantly black neighborhoods in New York City post-gentrification. So when he was on the Breakfast Club and saying, Shaun King, who tried to primary him, said he know 5 people that can, beat Hakeem Jeffries. Shaun King represents gentrified Brooklyn, like Hakeem Jeffries. And Hakeem Jeffries represents real Brooklyn. He from Crown Heights. And what? So I don't want to hear from these posers, these newly elected and incumbent progressive congressional people, because they're not for the cause. They're not for us and they're not by us. That's right. They're not FUBU. And I meant that. And I always will mean that. All day, every day. Period. End of discussion. Who got a problem with it? I don't know what to tell you. But I'll end this. Know who your allies are. Know who they are. Just because they're your skin folk doesn't mean they're your kinfolk. That's all I'm saying. Until then, you have a good night.